Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name is Soleil and I garden in a Zone 5B in Michigan, and today we are outside. It is a balmy, going to be a high of 37 today, but the sun is out, so I thought what a great day to get outside. I have pruned back one of my clematis because I really want to make sure that it has enough room to climb, and I was not happy with the trellis that I put it on. So we're going to replace that trellis with another one. In addition to that, because it's getting sunny and a little bit nicer out here now, the tulips are starting to come up, and that means that I could face some rabbit troubles eating them up. So we're going to take some of our cages and put them around tulips to protect them, and I'll show you how we do that. So let's get started with this trellis. So this trellis I got from Costco. It is, I believe, a 6-foot trellis, maybe. Though after you push it down into the ground it might only be 5 feet, but this has more surface area and more different places for the tendrils of the clematis to actually join on. I have 2 others of these, so they do go along with what I have in the garden. Now you can see what I have going on currently, and this is a pink mink clematis. So it is a type 3 clematis that you can prune right down to the ground basically every year so that you get lots of new growth and plenty of blooms all over the plant instead of just at the top. But you can see this is a short trellis. It doesn't even come up to the top of the fence, and this pink mink was so vigorous last year that it really needed some additional support. So I'm hoping by replacing this trellis with the new one that it will really help that out. So even though I've already pruned this back, some of these vines are still clinging to the trellis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and not clip the vine itself, but actually just clip those little branches that are still stuck to the trellis. And that should really help to free it up and allow me to get in here with the new trellis, remove this one without hurting any of these vines, making sure that I keep as many blooms as possible coming on this year and a nice thick bottom. All right, let's see if we can get this done. Now I see a big vine back here of ivy, so I'm just going to pull that out right now as well. That comes over from the neighbor's house, and I don't want it to become invasive in my garden. So I have to make sure to trim it all the time. All right, one of the things that I get frequently asked about my garden is how I maintain it, because it is fairly large and I do it all myself. And really I just do a little bit almost every day. Not necessarily in the winter time because there's not as much to do, but in the summertime I definitely come out pretty much every single day and do a little something. Whatever it is that the garden tells me to do that day is what I take care of. Okay, I think that came out pretty good. You know, the other thing that this current trellis was not doing was being right up against the fence. It was kind of out from it, so it wasn't really in as firm as I would like. So I'm going to put this one right up against the fence. I'm going to lean the bottom out a little bit, but the top towards the fence, so that it's a little bit of an angle for the plant to grow up. And then I just have to step it in. little bit hard to tell if it's level here because the fence itself is not straight, horizontal, but I think that's pretty good. And I can always come back through and fix it later. So now I'm just going to weave these stems back behind some of these trellis parts because it will help with the vines to stick to it when they start coming out this spring. And since this faces the south, the flowers and the foliage will definitely be growing forward and through the trellis, and this will ensure that they get a good grip. All right, so here you go. You can see how those vines are pretty evenly distributed across the base of the trellis. So that should really help to give it more width at the bottom to sprawl across, and then also more height at the top when it gets all the way up to the top of the fence. And then if it gets too tall, the cool thing is it could just flap over the top of the fence and I could see it from the front garden. Wouldn't that be pretty? Okay, next up we are going to take these lovely wire cloches and put them over some of the tulips that are coming up so that we can protect them from the rabbits. We definitely get a lot of rabbits through here, lots and lots of wildlife. It's very difficult to control it completely. But I'm happy to have the wildlife. I really love having them in the garden. I just prefer that they don't eat my tulip flowers. So I'm probably going to actually not order any more tulips in the future just because of the extra effort that it takes to protect them every year. And you know, I think there's some other things that I can plant instead. I really love daffodils. Daffodils do not experience the rabbit damage the same that the tulips do. And there's plenty of other things that we can have throughout the garden that will look really beautiful in early spring. But for now, as long as we have them and as long as they live, we're going to try to protect some of them. Not all of them, because I don't have enough wire cloches to go around. So let's see what we've got coming up and let's put out some cloches. Most of my tulips over on this side of the garden, so we'll head over here. And oftentimes I get questions about where I get certain garden supplies, and so these actually I found on the Lowe's website. You can order them, I think they come in a pack of 10 for about $110, something like that. So it's a pretty good deal if you've ever priced out chicken wire cloches. So these wire cloches are pretty tall and they have the spikes in the bottom, and they seem to be pretty perfect for this job of protecting the tulip bulbs. Because I plant them in clumps, it's pretty simple to just put them over the top and stick them in the ground, and it really doesn't damage any of the plants around it, and they look rather beautiful as well. Here's another clump that's coming out. Now, because I can't protect all of my tulips, I do like to especially protect the ones that I can see from the house or from a sitting area. And these you can see from the deck, so these definitely get a nice protective color covering. We'll also protect the ones on the other side of this same pathway here. As some of these shrubs and such grow around it, definitely gets a little bit harder to do this. All right, there we go. I do have it looks like 1 or 2 coming up here, but these may not be doing well, so I'm not actually going to worry about those. I also think that some that I had over here as marked by this plant tag appear to be gone. So not sure what happened to those, but they may have rotted out because we have a drain that is right here. So I will come through and get these because those are in a very nice, pretty position as well. And then there's some over here also behind this rose. Isn't it just so nice out today, you guys? I see a really nice big clump right here that I'm going to protect. Boy, it feels like the soil is almost still frozen right here. Put some back here. Actually see some rabbit droppings right by it. See, I think I have a couple more. So we have a really nice clump right here, and this is super close to my back gate where the rabbits can easily slip underneath the fence and come through and eat these up. Definitely the further away we are from the house, the more likely they are to eat up my tulips. Here's another nice patch. And I think we'll grab these two that are right here in the front. I'm sorry, you guys, for all the shadows. It's kind of a winter sun thing. It's really hard to avoid when it's so low in the sky. That doesn't want to go down very well. I'll have to come back through and push it down a little further when the ground is a little less frozen. But you can see they actually look really nice in the garden. That's part of why I purchased them. The ones that come from Gardener's Supply are much bigger. So if you have larger clumps of tulip bulbs, these are what they come as. This one actually has an extender on it, so it can be up higher and used for even larger clumps, but it's definitely a wider variety and more bell-shaped. It does not have stakes on the bottom of them. If you get like 3 or more, I think then they go down a little bit in price, like maybe $22 instead of $25 a piece. But they are a good investment because they will last many, many years. I have had mine for at least 3 years now, and I love them. So you can see I have a couple extra hiding back here that we're going to grab. And we will use these as well. Okay, it looks like a rabbit has been by this set of tulips already. You can see where it's been munched off, so we'll set one over the top of that. And it's okay for it to be on top of this daisy for a little bit. It'll be just fine. Once I take it off, it'll grow out of any kind of strange shape that it's been molded into. And then it looks like we have some right here as well as back there. And this clump back there looks like it's several. Let's see where else we have some. I'm just looking for any other really large clumps in here. Looks kind of like I planted the daisies right on top of these tulips over here. All right, let's take this clump right here. We'll cover this one. Again, I can see that the rabbits already came in and tried to eat off of that. Okay, one thing I'd like to do today is give folks an update on my mini greenhouse that I purchased. I put it into my mini raised brick bed that I built, and we got some serious heavy winds, and it did not like to stay there because the tall part was facing the west side and the stakes didn't necessarily hold it. I had a couple of people ask me about that in the comments when I first bought it, like how it would stand up that way. So I'm actually thinking that I will buy a couple pieces of rebar. I'm going to see first though if it will fit inside this tube right here, and then take the bottom frame off and just stick the 4 corner tubes over rebar to help hold it in place. I think that will help create a much more supportive environment for it to make it sturdier. And the other thing that I will say is just that I think this greenhouse has a lot of really good uses, and I'm really looking forward to it. I plan to keep it up all year round because I'll put the bug cover over it to protect it from animals even when it's warm. So the frame itself, even if I stick it on top of rebar or whatever type of stakes that I use, it will be much sturdier and a little bit more permanent. Now I'm using it right now for some of the plants that I'm hardening off or bringing out. Let me show you here. So here we have some of the violas that we have grown inside in our grow room, and you can see they are actually starting to put on some beautiful little blooms, which is amazing. And then on this side over here, we have the perennial plants that we potted up that were bare root that I got from Costco. So what we're going to do with these is give them a really good thorough watering today, because I can tell that the soil is starting to get a little dry. Let me try to get my shadow out of the camera here. And I definitely do not want them to dry out, because that would be the worst thing, especially when it's colder outside. It's really important to have well hydrated plants. You don't want to overwater them, but they are in terracotta, so that's super fantastic. All right, let's take a look inside this greenhouse. Again, these are unheated. These are basically like mini cold frames, which means that, you know, when the temperatures get really cold at night, I do sometimes have to bring these in, and I definitely did that a few times. Let me see if I can get a little bit better view with better light for you guys. I can't yet, but these are my pansies and violas. Just look how beautiful they are. They look great to me. These are the burnt velvet blue ones. The leaves are getting much bigger. Having them out here, it definitely warms up really good during the day, so you have to make sure that you come out and vent it during the day. You don't want it to get too hot, and you don't want the pots to dry out. Now, a few of the other plants that I have up in here, there are some more violas, and then in the back you see those are the snapdragons that we've grown inside. And they're definitely a lot happier out here. I have some more pansies over here to the right. And then I just brought this kale out yesterday, and I put it out, and overnight it got down to, I think it was like 14 or 16 degrees. So it wasn't a good night for it to be the first night out here. However, it will be okay. You can just tell how wilted it is because some of those little cells got so cold that they simply burst through the cell walls, and so they have no, you know, rigidity left in them at all. But the kale will live on. It is healthy, I can tell from the inside and from some of the leaves that are standing up. So we'll just keep it growing, and we'll probably be planting that one out in the garden in the next few days as soon as I see that it's really starting to pick up its vigor again after this really tough cold snap. Just a quick update on my little shrubs that I purchased from Hertz Garden. Right now they still look like a little bit of nothing. So we'll be watching these over the next couple of weeks to see if any of them break dormancy at all. It'll be fun to see over, well, it'll probably be over the next month that we start to see some of them break dormancy. Now the last thing that I wanted to show you guys today is our little raised garden bed. It's looking really nice. It's almost full. I have bought one more bag of raised bed garden mix because I anticipate as we get rain that this is going to continue to compact a little bit more and go down in terms of the level. But you can see we have some of those little alliums that I planted around the edge starting to green up a little bit. And so those will be those little drumstick alliums that you can get that will be blooming, I want to say around May or June. They're a little bit later of a bloom, but they should be really cute and pretty. And then I'm also thinking about taking some of the lobelia that I've been growing from seed, which it looks like I'm going to have a lot of, and putting it in here as a nice trailer on each of the four corners. Wouldn't that be pretty, with beautiful blue lobelia growing in each of the corners, just over in the bricks and draping down the side? I think that would be gorgeous, and it's supposed to be somewhat deer resistant. I wonder if any of you have any experience growing it with deer and whether they ate it up or not, or the rabbits. So we'll see. It's going to be a bit of an experiment this year to see how this bed turns out, but I can get those into the corners, I think, and still put that mini greenhouse on top with the bug cover on it to protect the vegetables from being eaten. Today I'm going to take the cover off of the rosemary. We have some decent weather over the next at least week and a half here, and I have no idea really how this rosemary has fared over the winter. It definitely looks like it's seen better days, but it doesn't look like it is completely dead. Looks like some of the needles have turned brown, but I believe that, could be expected, and perhaps if this was just trimmed back when it begins to get warm and starts to put on growth, it might just be okay. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it and see how it grows, and maybe we'll have successfully found a way to overwinter rosemary in my garden in Zone 5B. I will say, though, that it's been a mild winter, so this wouldn't necessarily be representative of how all of our experiences go in the winter time, but certainly I'll take it if it comes back. Well, hopefully you all have enjoyed spending this time in the garden as much as I have. I definitely enjoy coming out, and when the sun is out, it's even better. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you very much, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye!